Welcome everyone to the GlutenBee YouTube channel. Today we're doing a very fun interview with Chelsea Curtis about her brand Chelsea Approved and some of the story. So I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell you more about it.
Hey everyone, my name is Chelsea of Chelsea Approved. I love saying that, but the beginning of our story, I actually didn't even come up with the business. It was brought to me, so it's just really fun to say the name.
That's awesome. And so tell more people first, just before we get into the interview, where can people find you? How can they buy your products? All that kind of stuff.
Hi, I'm Chelsea of Chelsea Approved. We make gluten-free and vegan dry baking mixes, and we sell online. We have an Instagram, we've got a website, and you can find us in a bunch of local co-ops in Vermont and New York, and at farmers markets during the summer in around Shelburne and South Burlington, Vermont.
Awesome. Okay, so let's get into the more of the interview and stuff. I really just want to hear about your brand. For context for people watching right now, we were both at the Wicked Gluten-Free Expo in Massachusetts, kind of like South Shore area, and I was visiting and found their booth, and we met, chatted a bit, and I thought it was a really cool story, so I wanted to kind of share it with the audience. And so today we're doing an interview to hear more about that, and so let's get right into it. Tell me like the story, how that came to be, how it was brought to you. That's a really interesting detail. I'm really excited to hear more.
Yeah, so back in college as a freshman, I started experiencing a cluster of GI issues and didn't know what it was for the whole first semester, and finally went through a lot of testing to figure it out. And I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. So it is like an inflammatory disease of your whole digestive system, like the whole thing. So it made me turn to food to try to help, make myself better. And I ended up finding out that I was gluten-free and dairy-free as well. So a big chronic illness diagnosis plus some food allergies and additional intolerances mixed in there. So as a freshman in college, like going out on my own for the first time ever, life just turned itself upside down. And there was a huge learning curve. There was so much out there with diet and disease, anti-inflammatory diets, like specific carbohydrate diets for Crohn's disease specifically. So there was a lot of research to be done. And with the help of my family, and especially my sister, we started experimenting with recipes because I was very limited in what I could eat. And so when I would go home for the holidays from college, the whole fridge would be littered with sticky notes that said Chelsea Approved on them. And those were the foods that I knew were safe for me in the household. So that's how the brand name came about. That's how the story really began, my diagnosis and my food allergies. And then from there, I went a few years just doing my own thing. And the one thing that I missed the most from my diet, because there's a lot of gluten-free and dairy-free stuff out there, and it's good food, but I missed baked goods. Like, it was so hard to find delicious gluten-free vegan baked goods. They were so dry and crumbly and, too sugary, like just not the right texture. I grew up eating Nestle Toll House chocolate chip cookies. That was like my family's go-to dessert. And so having that as like the gold standard of quality and taste and texture, I was just like not impressed with the options I had. So jump forward from freshman year of college, that was now 10 years ago. About 7 years ago, my sister started baking in the kitchen. And she's like, you know what? I'm going to make these so you can eat them. So her and her boyfriend started baking. They went through dozens of chocolate chip cookie recipes, and I was their taste tester. It was so much fun. And at the same time, oddly enough, my sister and her boyfriend went vegan. So now, Yep. So now we had no gluten, no dairy, and no eggs, completely vegan. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we were like, all right, that there's only, there's 9 big food allergies out there, in the world. So let's just get rid of all of them. And so our brand did become free of the top 9 allergens.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But basically my sister and her, now our co-founder, Adam. So Emily and Adam came to me one day and they were like, hey, we've had a lot of fun making this amazing chocolate chip cookie for you. Would you be interested in starting a business with us to sell them to people? And so they had brought it to me and I was like, of course, like this is an amazing idea. Let's do it.
Mhm. Yeah, no, that's brilliant. That's so cool to hear about. And like the story of how it came to be, especially because of you discovering that you had Crohn's disease, or the journey to get there. And it's interesting because I had the same experience, like with figuring out that I had celiac disease, or gluten intolerance, when I was in freshman year of college, and seems to affect a lot of people around that time, which intrigues me. I think it's something to do with maybe like the change in our lives, or who knows, but it's interesting. But anyways, like aside from that, let's go back to the business itself. So at this point, they told you the idea, they brought it to you, you were excited. Describe the next steps. Like maybe how long ago was this now? You said this was 7 years ago, or no? Or
3 years ago.
well, 3 years ago. Okay, it was 7 years after. Yeah. Okay, so 3 years ago. And so describe maybe the whole first year to start, and then we'll kind of break it down and go from there.
Yeah, so first year was insane. We were all working full-time jobs and doing this on very much on the side. And so it was late nights on weekdays after work. It was very much a passion project for us. And we just put all of our extra energy into it. So the first thing we had to do was really lock down these recipes. And we knew that we couldn't start a business with just one product. So we ended up launching with 4 products, our chocolate chip cookies, banana bread, pancakes, and snickerdoodle cookies. So the first year was a lot of recipe development and honestly figuring out where we could even manufacture them.
Yeah.
And so it was finding, a buckwheat mill that was hopefully near a packaging plant. It was designing the packages and finding someone to do that for us. So it was like, we declared it as an LLC, and then we started working with the big kids, like the big manufacturing people, the other businesses that you need to create your own business. So it was a lot of networking and research. But we were very happy with the team that we found. They're all in upstate New York. So our buckwheat mill, our manufacturing facility, and our bag design, they are all in upstate New York, which is awesome because it feels good that the products aren't moving across the state or like really far away. It definitely goes with like one of our sustainability missions. So that felt good. We originally wanted it to be in Vermont and be local, but it was impossible to find what we needed here. Yeah, but we are very happy with our team.
That's awesome. And so after kind of the first year of experimentation and things like that, how did you start to, I would say, scale up? You mentioned that you're in certain, was it like stores, farmers markets, co-ops, things like that. Was that something that happened year 1, or was that more year 2 and 3?
That is a great question. So we originally launched the business using Kickstarter. So we honestly needed money from backers to run our first production run and make as many bags as we felt we needed to get stores to take us on. And Healthy Living was the first one. They have been amazing partners to work with, and they loved our product immediately because that's kind of their niche group of people that come and shop there the most. I would say gluten-free. So that was really fun. We got into Healthy Living first, and then from there it kind of just spiraled, and it was all the local small co-ops wanted us. So that was pretty easy entry into those places. Then when we felt like we really wanted to continue scaling up, we started doing the farmers markets. So first year we tried 3 part-time farmers markets over the summer. And then for year 2, like we picked the one that did the best. So it was a lot of trial and error, I would say, to really get us off the ground. And we're still in the process of trying to get into one of those big grocery stores, either Hannaford, Price Chopper, Shaw's, but they're competitive. They're tough.
Yeah, I've heard. I don't have any, like, I don't know a lot of people directly yet who have done that, but I've been curious about that process, and it's definitely, I've heard some things where it's just, there's a lot of scale, like it's a scale factor, unfortunately, a lot of the time. And how do you get there without having those relations? It's like a weird chicken or the egg problem, but I think it'll definitely happen, and I wish you the best on that journey. But let's get into more. Okay, so that's a good kind of transition of like, so that's the next stage of growth. And then obviously we met at the Wicked Expo, which was a great time. Did you start doing expos really recently, or has that been since the start? And do you find that to be another kind of marketing strategy, is like expos, in-person events, and in-person networking?
Yes, we started going to expos last summer. So it just became another area of trial and error for us.
Yeah.
Like, why not try them out? We have nothing to lose. And we did want to market in person. So we were doing live demos in a lot of the co-ops and found that when you're face to face with a customer and you get to talk about your own product and give them a sample, the
Mhm.
conversion rate is way higher.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so we really liked everything that had to offer. And so expos became pretty big for us. I mean, we've been to a handful of them. It's only been a year so
Yeah. Yeah.
that we've been involved in expos, but they are so much fun. And I think it's not only networking and marketing to customers, but other gluten-free or, folks or businesses.
Yeah.
And that has been incredible for us to expand our network.
Yeah, that's sweet. It's like how we met, that's awesome. Um,
Exactly.
so I like that. And for me, my background is marketing, so I love talking about this. So I want to dive a bit deeper, but you mentioned, a website and social media. So I'm curious to hear kind of your strategy on that. I'm sure the website and all that was pretty early on because it's part of the brand, but describe all those steps. Like if you know a little bit more about like the platform and how you got that going, some people might be interested. So kind of just go into all that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we did start with a website, and there's definitely opportunities to have other people who are experts in website building do it for you.
Mhm.
But we really wanted to be authentic and do it ourselves. So
Mhm.
we built out the website, we built out the Facebook group, the Instagram, and we have a Pinterest too. So going into all of those avenues. To be honest, we really wanted our business to be e-commerce. We thought that, you know, buying off the website and just doing it that way would be an awesome and pretty easy way of doing things. But turns out the in-person stuff is just so much more valuable.
Yeah.
So the website is great and there's so much information on there, but we are more successful in person. Um, in addition, I feel like the Instagram, I run that actually. I'm like the
Right.
social media guru of our group.
Sweet.
And so I learned early on that people are always looking for like the new next best thing. And so we started the business with 4 products. And after a few weeks of promoting 4 products, I was like, okay, people are wanting more. Like they need something new and novel. And so that's when our recipe modifications began. So basically, you can take any of our bags and you can follow the directions on the back and get a great product. But on our blog, we've got multiple recipe modifications for every bag.
That's
So
awesome.
so if you grab the banana bread mix, for example, you can make pumpkin bread, apple spice bread, zucchini bread. There
Sweet.
is all sorts of stuff you can do.
Yeah.
So I feel like for new people starting a business, starting Instagram, it's it's a really interesting world to be in. You do have to stay on trends and like be, relevant and be doing a lot of things that other people are doing. But you also have to be authentic and bring your own unique stuff to the forefront. So it's kind of that new mentality. And it's fast. And so the very fast pacedness of the internet was a huge learning curve for me. And I'm still always learning.
Oh yeah. No, I can totally relate to you on that. I feel like sometimes, especially with social media, I really enjoy, making videos and sharing things, but sometimes it can be really discouraging because you might get like very little results, even if you're doing like trying hard, because of what you just said. There's a lot of changes, and it might be the algorithm, it might be trends, it might be this or that, or people seeking out new things, like you mentioned. And
Mhm.
the attention span keeps getting smaller and smaller, so it's hard. But I find it to be fun too. Like speaking of that, you said you're the social media manager for your accounts. Like tell like the audience about some fun experiments that you've done, and maybe how people could apply it to their own business. Whether they run a brand, they do maybe reviews or just anything.
I feel like for filming content and filming videos, you have to be comfortable making a fool of yourself in any setting. So I started by like not showing my face at all on Instagram. Then I worked my way up to being comfortable just filming videos of myself. And then I started bringing my phone to the farmer's market, and it became like kind of a circus of just me being like, me and my co-founders, of course, just being absolute goofballs and filming all sorts of random stuff. Customers would walk by just like laughing at us, and our neighbors at the farmers market would be like, what are you even doing right now? And so I feel like you got to get out of your comfort zone, and it's really about connecting with people, building a community. And the only way to do that is to be yourself and, be really transparent and honest with your viewers.
Totally agree. Yeah. And it's great to have fun and be light, there's no like real pressure other than the ones I feel like sometimes we put on ourselves. And it's nice to show the human side of what we're doing in our different journeys, I like that a lot. I think this is also a good point, maybe to talk about any other areas. Let's say, videos and social media is one section, but maybe like around email marketing. You mentioned the blog post. I think that's really cool. I do a lot of blogging for GlutenBee as well, and it's something that I don't share as much on the social media because people don't always want to just click a link, but it has values in other ways. So maybe talk about, like the blog and email and any other strategies related to that and how that affects your business and the way you view it,
Yeah. So we send out a newsletter. We try not to bombard people with emails. So I would say it was once a month, at least the last time I knew about it. Emily, my sister and co-founder, is in charge of the newsletters. And so she basically just communicates to people on our email list, like, here are any updates we have, here are upcoming events, and just any other little tidbits that we want to share. And in general, it's to build the community, but it is kind of a way of advertising too. It pops up in people's emails, and they see it and they remember us. So there's a lot of strategy that goes into it. Now that I'm thinking of it, I feel like coming up with catchy headers when you're sending emails is really helpful. So getting creative in that way, and almost like clickbait.
Yeah. Sometimes you
Yeah.
gotta entice people, right?
I know, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of the times the newsletter will take people to the blog.
Right,
I feel like I also use Instagram to get people to the blog, since all of our recipes are there. Like if I'm sharing a video of anything, I'll be like, hey, the whole recipe, or whatever more information you need, you can find it on the blog. So that's a really easy way to get people there.
I think it's always a good idea to direct people back to your website and blog, because it's a place where it's your brand. You can give people, like you said, a lot of information and things that might help them make that decision, whether it's to buy a product or just support you, follow you, join your community, whatever that may be. But I think that's a great point. So all this is really exciting. I think the recipes and add-ons is such a cool idea. I have two more questions or like ideas. First, you mentioned that it's Emily, right? She is the in charge of emails and some other parts of the business. I think it'd be cool to kind of go and talk about maybe some of the different roles, how you split it up or delegate, and then how you view that being, the founder or one of the co-founders and, managers of the business.
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like because Emily and Adam came to me with the business idea, they both have MBAs, so masters in business. And so they felt like they felt comfortable starting a business. Me, my background is in dietetics, nutrition, like I'm a registered dietitian, so totally not my area of expertise. So they handle a lot of the business side. Adam, one of our co-founders, has a lot of experience with business development and startups and stuff like that. So he led us for sure in the beginning for the first year. He helped get everything off the ground. And then Emily enjoys more of like the finance side of things, like bookkeeping.
That's a great role, important role. Yeah.
I feel like our roles kind of just like settled into place. And then I was very much involved in any decision I wanted to be in. They were very open and accepting of my opinion about things. So although I don't have a business brain, I was there for every decision we made, which was
Awesome.
incredibly fun. But
Yeah.
now my role is definitely like the face of the company, the brand of
Yeah.
the company, and social media. So we all work, have our own different backgrounds and just work really well as a unit together.
That's awesome. Well, and I would say you also have a really important role of like the health and dietitian side, in a way of like, obviously they might have made the initial recipes, but because of Crohn's disease, not a gluten allergy specifically, but avoiding allergens, and then
Mhm.
the vegan side, like all these things, I think it helps bring that together. And I think it's obviously a very important part of the brand, and where things are going right now, it's a big trend. So let's
Mm.
talk about that a little. Like, how have you seen, you mentioned roughly, 7 to 10 years of this journey. For me, it's been about the same, maybe a little longer, but I'm so curious to hear how you've seen all this stuff change. Because for me, myself, I've seen so many changes, whether it's, how grocery stores are or restaurants. And I'm curious about your opinion on that journey, or just your, experience.
Yeah, I feel much more comfortable grocery shopping with just all the food labels now.
Yeah.
Everything is much clearer than it used to be. Looking for certifications for one, like
Yeah.
brands, I'm thankful that brands have made them front and center. Like they want someone to just walk up to their product, see it, and grab it off the shelf. No, as little reading ingredient labels as possible.
Yeah.
Because I feel like in the beginning, before I knew what brands I liked, I was spending hours in the grocery store
Right.
reading
Yeah.
labels. And I'm like, this is not what I was expecting to be spending all my time on.
Yeah.
So it took a long time to figure that out, as well as, there's a ton of different gluten-free breads out there. So, okay, let me try every single one and find my
Right.
favorite.
Yeah. And
So
spend a fortune doing it too.
uh,
Right. Yeah.
seriously. So
Yeah.
it took a long time for that. And it took a while to feel comfortable going out to eat, going to restaurants.
Yeah.
But I feel like because food allergies are quite prominent now, restaurants are just getting used to accommodating for us. There's more options. Like I remember, 10 years ago going out to anywhere and being like, hey, I want a burger. And they're like, okay, like if you're gluten-free, we don't have any buns for you. Like you're going to have
Right.
to have it, in a salad wrap. But now like a lot of almost everywhere I go has a gluten-free bun.
Yeah. It's so refreshing. And I totally agree with you. It's really nice that it's become, I think some of it is, capitalism, but some of it is also just like other people like you who have similar journeys that have decided to take that initiative and start brands and products, even restaurants, cafes. I'm really grateful for them, for you and for them, because it's like, that's why the grocery store is a better experience now. I have a buddy in Minneapolis who his wife is gluten free. I think it's a gluten intolerance, and she is always finding new products and stuff. And he sent me a video recently of a chain called Hy-Vee, I think it's called, and
Mm.
I was like blown away. And he was like, "Yeah, this is crazy. Like we just kind of started going here, and it's aisles of I think it was a mix of like vegan, health friendly, and then gluten free, but it was still like significant amount compared to what in the beginning for me. I remember like roughly 10 years ago, it was like a very small section,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I am very thankful that the sections are growing. I had a family member visiting us from Texas, and he's gluten free, and he was astounded by what we had here in Vermont.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it just depends where you are. So I feel lucky
Definitely.
to have what we have here.
No, that's such a good point, like the regionality thing, because I live in Boston, and so like it's a big city. It's generally easier to find the gluten-free options, especially at restaurants. But
Mhm.
when I used to live in South Carolina, and that was a lot more fast food, fried food, things of that nature. And it's like
Mhm.
I miss it. I definitely miss it, but I can't have it anymore. And so when you go down there, it's a little more of a challenge. But even I've been surprised, like even places that you kind of don't expect at first are slowly getting more and more like overseas, international.
Mhm.
Some of them are ahead of us. They have different understandings of celiac disease and other food allergies, but
Just a reminder where you can find us. I'm Chelsea of Chelsea Approved. You can find us at chelseaapproved.com, CHELSEAAPPROVED.com. You can also give us a follow on our Instagram, same Chelsea Approved.
awesome. Okay, and so we talked a lot about, the story of starting up, and now I think you've covered all the, 3 years of that journey really well. Now let's talk a bit about going forward, 2025. As you mentioned already, like we all know, being in any space online, it's crazy. Things are
Mhm.
changing left and right. So like, let's start with first, if there's any new like significant product launches or anything like that, and then just like general marketing plans and really strategy for next year, and any advice you have for other people in starting a business or in the food space.
Yeah, strategy for 2025 is continuing to grow, but also maintenance. So maintaining where we currently are and just growing off of there. We do want to expand into more states and then continue expanding in Vermont into bigger grocery stores. So it's definitely like spreading out and spreading up, I would say. All, we don't have any new products coming out in 2025, but we do plan on being at more events. So definitely more in-person marketing and networking. More expos are hopefully in the future. And hopefully either the Burlington Farmers Market or the Shelburne Farmers Market will be full-time.
That's amazing. And I think that's also a good point to make, is like when you have enough products or the right products, you don't need to necessarily keep adding more. It's more about, like you said, expanding to different regions and different stores and different places where you might not have even tapped into yet. And this could apply to any business, but especially a food business where, for me at least, I'll say like discovery is very important. And sometimes I'll be at a random farmer's market or I'll be at an expo and I'll find something. I'll be like, wow, that is significantly better or more unique than anything I've ever found. And I think it's a really good point. And so other than that, like back to maybe social media, the web, how have you thought about that? Any ideas that have kind of come up with, like specifically going into next year, maybe adapting to things at all?
I mean, we haven't talked about it too much as a team, but I'm always game for like getting a social media marketer, someone who actually knows what they're doing, because to be honest, I'm just shooting things out in the dark and seeing what sticks. So possibly getting like a clearer game plan, right, from a professional. So I am always interested in that. I know that we do already have someone working on revamping the website, so we're working on that front. But yeah, maybe Instagram will be next.
That's awesome. No, I think it's always good too, if you find yourself focused on other areas, then finding like a specialist, even if it's maybe contract or like an agency that can support you. That way you can really focus on, especially it sounds like, those in-person events are where you guys get the most value. So you should focus on that, maybe capture the content and then let the social media team do their thing. Cause that's kind of how I've started to, like with GlutenBee, I love making the content, but with some of my other websites, it's like, I don't always have time to, but it's still where the customers are, where the viewers are, where people are, they're going to watch this video on there. And so how do you adapt to that while you're doing your thing? I think that's amazing. I'm trying to think if there's any other interesting questions. I would say just as a more fun one, like we'll do a quick few fun ones at the end, just more about like food wise. Just to be clear too, do you eat gluten-free and other allergies, or just gluten right now is like the second void?
I'm like strictly gluten and dairy free.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
But the rest are intolerances.
Okay, perfect. And I just kind of, that context helps with the questions. It's just more like fun ones. So for one, like, let's start with what's your favorite? I would say New England is a good region for it, like gluten-free, dairy-free, just like allergen-friendly restaurant or chain or single place that you found just to tell people about.
Right now it is Jewels on the Green, which is a cute little, I don't know if it's a chain, but there's only one of them here in Vermont. It's owned by this local guy whose daughter has a peanut allergy. And so the whole restaurant is peanut free. And then they do a really good job with keeping their kitchens separate. They've got a gluten area of the kitchen and then a gluten-free area. So they do such a good job, and I love their food.
That's sweet. No, I love finding those gems. I've seen some people call them like unicorns in the gluten-free community, and I love it because that's why I use different apps like Find Me Gluten-Free and these other things, because you get those gems that you're not generally going to just find them on like a normal Maps app or Yelp product where it's for the mass consumer. So that actually brings up a good point. Maybe I just mentioned Find Me Gluten Free, but are there any other apps or things that you've discovered in your 10-year journey that have helped you a lot in modern times, with allergies and stuff?
To be honest, no. Find Me Gluten Free is the best one that I've found. And once I found that, I didn't really search for other things.
I feel that. What about like where do you get a lot of your food? Do you go yourself to a lot of these co-ops, any chain, like larger grocery stores, and then anything online?
I primarily shop at Hannaford. They actually have a pretty good, like growing dairy-free section, and gluten-free. So I can find most of the things I need there, but most weeks I do also go to Healthy Living. So without a doubt, Healthy Living has everything I need.
That's
But I kind of tag team both to get like all my normal stuff at Hannaford, especially because my husband eats completely normal food.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so we get all his stuff, and then yeah, I'll go to Healthy Living for me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And then for the last one, this one's kind of I like traveling. I don't know if you do as much too, but I think it's always fun to find like a crazy gem when you're traveling. So tell me about one of the coolest things you found while on the road. Maybe it's international or just like somewhere else in the US.
Okay, so I was in Disney World in Florida for my honeymoon, and this was last summer, and like most of the restaurants did a very good job of like making everything gluten free, but we walked past, I can't remember what park we were at, but we walked past this like pastry looking, little bakery, and we walked in because there was a sign outside that said gluten free stuff. And I go in there and they have this giant gluten free whoopie pie. And I'm like, I have got to try that. So I got it and we sat outside and I ate the whole thing and it was so good. I mean, I really wish I remembered what it was called, but it
No,
was
but
amazing.
sometimes those places are literally so special that like it's such a quick moment in time and a gem that you forget, but that's amazing. No, I love that. And whoopie pies are so good. They're hard to find.
Mhm.
There's a couple in New England, like a couple farmers markets I've actually found those at. But no, that's amazing. I think that's pretty good. Just real quick before I record like a quick little outro for the end, is there anything else or are you good?
I think I'm good. Sometimes I do like to mention that because of my experience with diet and disease and that I had honestly such good results with managing my disease by changing my diet. I became a registered dietitian because I was so inspired by
Oh,
my
wow.
own experience.
Yeah.
And so that's literally what I do every day as my job. I see people inpatient and outpatient, and we talk about their food and what they're experiencing and how we can modify that, because food is so powerful, and how we can make them feel better.
Yeah, it's like the gut and brain connection, right? No, that's amazing. Thanks everyone for tuning into this interview with Chelsea. It was really fun to hear about her journey, starting and building Chelsea Approved with her co-founders. I'm looking forward to see kind of what happens in the next coming years, and hopefully we'll see them in some big change soon. But
Thank you,
real quick,
Mike.
yeah, real quick, if you have any more parting words, and just remind everyone where to find you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was so great talking to you about our journey and the story. I always love sharing with potential new customers and just the community in general. So yeah, again, you can find us on our website at chelseaapproved.com, Instagram at Chelsea Approved, and in a bunch of local co-ops here in Vermont. Check out our website for those locations.